An Evening with George Burns.
Thank you very much. I don't know what I'm doing up here. I got a seat in the front row. You know, ladies and gentlemen, and fans of my closest friend, I want to ask you something. Wouldn't you think that as long as I was kind enough, or let's not go that far, let's say as long as I was nice enough to come over here to introduce George Burns, that George would have somebody introduce me? He lets me walk on, no introduction, no music, just walk on timidly, you know, like a little puppy that missed the paper. Now, George, this is the second time, of course, that George has done this show. He did it in New York City, and he wanted me to fly to New York to introduce him. He said he was nervous in New York. He wouldn't go on if I weren't there to introduce him. So I told him I'd go, and he said to me, he said, I'll tell you what, Jack, if you come to New York and introduce me, he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pay all of your expenses from Los Angeles to New York and back. I'll pay your hotel bill. It won't cost you a dime. So then I got real angry, and I says, George, look, I've been in show business as long as you have, or longer, and I've saved my money. I'm richer than you are. I don't need you to introduce me. You don't have to spend that money. So he said to me, well, Jack, I'd feel better if you let me pay your expenses. So I said, well, if your health is involved, all right. So I let him do it. And he paid my fare, he paid my hotel bill, I paid the food. If I remember correctly, I paid everything. Well, anyway, I'm going to introduce, really, I've always said my you know, when he played the Philharmonic, it seemed almost sacrilegious for a fellow like George Burns to be appearing at a place like the Philharmonic. And I told him that, I said, George, you can't even spell Philharmonic. He says to me, are you kidding? I said, all right, spell it. And he started out F-I-L. I said, forget it. He said, wait a minute, I'm not through yet. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very happy and very proud to be here tonight. To be able to introduce a fellow that I think is one of the great, great entertainers that we have in America. And I'm very happy and proud to say that he is my closest friend. Ladies and gentlemen, George Burns.
Thank you very much. That fellow looked familiar to me. I think he's one of the caddies at Hillcrest. I'm not sure. Well, I'll get to him later. Isn't this beautiful? The Shubert Theatre. It finally got me singing in the right place. Well, I got to keep this lit. I can't, you know me, I can't talk unless I smoke. Seeing me without a cigar would be like seeing Toady Fields and Mama Cass in a Volkswagen, stopping to pick up Kate Smith. I smoke between 15 and 20 cigars a day. Well, at my age, I've got to hold on to something. Look, there's still a lot of things I love to do at my age. I love to sing, and I love to smoke, and I love well, I used to love to, and even when I was able to, I always enjoyed singing and smoking more than I did. I was never crazy about. When I was young, the only thing I wanted to get into was show business. I was always afraid that if I did a lot of I could hurt myself and never win another Jolson contest. It was always so embarrassing for me I was always so embarrassed. Even to this day, whenever I put my cigar into my holder, I close my eyes. Well, I want you to sit back and relax because you're in for a very, very exciting evening. I'm going to sing. Eight songs, and if you like them, I'll sing 9. And if you don't like them, I'll sing 38. All ballads. And I'll sing them slow and sustain the last notes. Let's see, I've got so many great songs, I don't know which one to open with. Now, let me tell you something about an opening song. It's very important that you start out with the right one. I know because I'm an old vaudeville actor. If you start out with the right song, you've got a great opening. And in show business, all you need is a great opening and a great finish. I found out if I've got a great opening and a great finish, I don't have to apologize for all this dull stuff that I do in the middle. Sometimes my opening song is so great that people think it's my finish. Sometimes it is. Okay, Perry, Red Rose Rag. Down in the garden where the red roses grow, oh my, I want to go. Pluck me like a flower, cuddle me an hour. Lovey, let me learn that red rose rag. Red leaves are falling in that rosy romance. Bees hum, come, now's your chance. Don't go hunting possums, mingle with the blossoms in the flowery, bowery dance. Oh, honeymoon, shine on in June. Hear me croon, there's a lovely tune. Hold it, 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 hold it. That's a great song, but it's not an opening. It's not a great opening. When the evening sun is sinking. When the evening sun is sinking, I've been thinking of my little log cabin home. I was never meant for president, but you can bet I'll be content to stay there never again to roam. The house is not looking, you'll enjoy the cooking. You'll eat my mother's apple pie. There is no wonderful architecture, see? Hold it. That's good, but it's still not a song. It's not good enough to keep your mind off my dull stuff. I think this is it. Pack up your sins. Okay. Pack up your sins and go to the devil in Hades. You'll find the finest of gentlemen and the finest of ladies. They'd rather be down below than up above. Hades is full of thousands of Jones, Browns, Hooligans, Cones, and Bradys. They got a wonderful tune that went to the devil because those jazz bands put a trick in it, a little kick in it, a raggy pick in it. They got a couple of old reformers in heaven, making you go to bed at 11. Pack up your sins, go to the devil, and you never have to go to bed at all. Oh. The doggies on the street get together and play. Talk things over, get married right away. Chicken lays the egg can't be found. If Mr. Rooster didn't come around, oh, hold it. Did I? Now, let me tell you something about these songs. These songs were all big hits when I first started in show business. You won't believe this, but after one of my performances, Calvin Coolidge left the theater whistling Red Rose Rag. And that was quite a compliment because Coolidge never moved his upper lip. Can't get over it. It's Shubert Theatre. You know, I played nothing but small-time vaudeville theaters until I was 27 years old. I played some awful places. I played one theater that was so bad that the headliner was Swain's Cats and Rats. Things were kind of tough, but kids nowadays, they got it made. They with records and with television, they get to be stars overnight. I know because I started a few kids, like Bobby Darin and Ann Margaret and Bobby Rydell and let me tell you a little story about Ann Margaret. She came into my office. She was about 19 years old, and she says, "Mr. Burns," she says, "my name is Ann Margaret, and I understand that you're doing a show in Las Vegas, and I'd like to be on the show." I says, "Well, what do you do?" She said, "I'm a singer." I said, "Let me hear you sing a song." She sang a song. She was great, so I took her, and she got to be a star overnight. I sent for her 6 months later. I says, "Annie, how about playing Vegas?" She said, "Let me hear you sing a song." I sang a song, and she took me. Well, of course, I'm exaggerating, but kids move very fast. Took me a long, long time, but I loved every minute of it. I was crazy about show business. All my life, I wanted to sing, I wanted to dance, I wanted to act, I wanted to be on the stage, and I made it, and I don't know how. Nobody liked my singing but me. I'd be standing out there singing my heart out, loving the audience, and they would despise me. I was despised so often, I thought I was doing well. Then I was a buck dancer, but I could only tap with my right foot. My left foot wanted me to go into some other business. Then I did a dramatic sketch and people laughed. I became a comedian. Nobody laughed. So I decided to become a straight man because the straight man does nothing. I figured the comedian or the comedian asks the questions, the straight man, all I'd have to do is repeat that question. I repeat the question, they do the punchline, they get a laugh, and I'm in show business. And it worked. I remember when I was 19 years old, I met this beautiful little girl. Her name was Lily Lamont. I asked her to do an act with me, and she invited me up to her apartment. When I got there, the lights were low and the music was soft, and she had on a black negligee. And she said, "How would you like to have a drink?" Well, I figured, here's my chance to see if I could make it as a straight man. So I repeated the question. I says, "How would you like to have a drink?" And she had one. Then she said, "Would you care for another one?" And I repeated, "Would you care for another one?" And she had another one. And after 5 or 6 drinks, she got stoned. And she says, "Let's go into the bedroom." And I said, "Let's go into the bedroom." And when we were in bed, she says, "Aren't you going to turn out the lights?" And I says, "Aren't you going to turn out the lights?" And she turned out the lights, and I went home. she didn't get any laughs, so I left. That girl pretty near ruined my career. That was 57 years ago, and I still can't figure out what made that girl think she was funny. But in those days, I would do anything to stay in show business. I remember I did a single. My name was Harry Pierce. And my billing was Harry Pierce, a singer from Rhode Island, in an act of Providence. Look, I figured as long as I was laying off, I might as well have classy billing. And somehow I was booked into the Gem Theatre on Houston Street on the Lower East Side of New York. I got $15 for 3 days, $5 a day, and the contract had a no cancellation clause in it. And in those days, they could cancel you after the first performance. And after the matinee, the manager was waiting for me in the wings. He says, look, kid, he says, that act of yours can close my theater. You're booked here for 3 days for $15. Here's the $15 and go home. I says, not me. I'm booked for 3 days. I'm going to play the 3 days. He says, I'll give you $20. Go home. I says, no, all right. So you didn't like my first show. For my second show, I'll change my numbers. I'll open with Tiger Girl, and then I'll sing In the Heart of a Cherry. And for the finish, I'll do my big number. I'll be waiting for your bill when you come back from San Juan Hill. He said, I'll make it $25. I says, no, sir, I'm staying. I'm a performer. I've even got cards printed. He says, okay, kid, you can stay, but give me back your key to the men's room. And that was kind of bad, because that's where I was dressing. Now, let me tell you something. When you don't go to the men's room for 3 days, it doesn't help you singing in it. In fact, after the second day, I didn't dare to do my yodeling finish. And I used to change my name every week. I had to. I couldn't get a job with the same name twice. I remember sitting in Folly Marcus's office. He was a small-time booking agent. And this theater manager came in, and he said, where could I find Maurice Valenti? I said, I'm Maurice Valenti. I thought I was. And he gave me a contract to play the Myrtle Theater in Brooklyn. And it said Maurice Valenti and his Wonder Dog. So I signed it. I told you I'd do anything to stay in show business. When I got myself a piece of liver, I went out and caught myself a dog and went to the Myrtle Theater to do my act. I walked out on the stage with the dog under my arm, and I stood there and sang my songs. And after the second number, in the middle of the second number, the dog did his act. Twice. Ruined my finish. I couldn't do my sand dance. Now this you're not going to believe. I did an act with a seal. It wasn't even my act. I was living on 45th Street in this little boarding house, and this actor was living there. His name was Betts. And he did an act with a seal, Captain Betts and Flipper. And he was booked into the Dewey Theater on 14th Street, and he got sick, and he asked me to take his place. I says, look, Betts, you're silly. I never worked with a seal. I wouldn't know what to do. He says, George, he says, the seal does the whole act. The curtain goes up, the seal is on a little platform. You're standing there with a ball in your hands and with your pockets full of fish. And you throw the ball to the seal, and the seal twirls the ball, he juggles the ball, he bounces the ball, and he flips it back to you, and you throw him a piece of fish, and he applauds with his flippers. Then he does 4 more tricks, and after each trick, you throw him a piece of fish, and again he applauds with his flippers. And at the finish of the act, there's a rack of horns. The seal goes in back of the rack and blows into the horns and plays Yankee Doodle. Pup, 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 pup. And at the finish of Yankee Doodle, he presses a lever, 2 American flags come up, you throw him a piece of fish, and as he's applauding with his flippers, you're taking bows, and the curtain comes down. I opened at the Dewey Theater and got away with it. But I had a date that night with a very pretty girl. Her name was Trixie Hart. She was also in show business. And I was ashamed to meet her because after you do 4 shows with your pockets full of fish, you know, you don't smell too good. But I met her and she didn't notice it because she was doing an act with Fink's Mules. In fact, she complimented me on my aftershave lotion. Then I did a ballroom dancing act. Dunlap and Rosita. My name was Dunlap. And in those days, all ballroom dancing acts dressed alike. The girl wore an evening gown and the fellow wore a full dress suit. My full dress suit cost me $22.50. I bought it in one of those upstairs stores. If you walked up a flight, you'd save $5. And the way the suit fitted me, it looked like I walked up a flight and fell down 2. The vest had a little rubber loop at the bottom that you'd button onto the top button of your pants to hold the vest down. And after the first cleaning, the suit shrunk. And instead of holding the vest down, the loop pulled my pants up. I was the only ballroom dancer in the world who did a flat-footed waltz on his toes. I had to stay up there. When I got down on my heels, it would hurt me. And Rosita bought her dress in one of those rental places where they make a beautiful dress and they rent it out 50 times for $10 a night and then 50 times for $5 a night and for $2 a night, then they would sell it. And that's the dress she bought. It was a blue dress with long blue sleeves and had a very heavy gold lace skirt. And before Rosita went on the stage, she used to tie a little black velvet ribbon around her neck. And she tied it kind of tight because she was very, very skinny and she wanted her cheeks to puff out. But she tied it so tight it affected her hearing. And let me tell you something, when you're doing a dancing act and you can't hear the music, it's murder. And we did a pivoting finish. She put her arms around my neck and I would swing her in the air. And when we opened at the Colonial Theatre in Altoona and went into this pivoting finish, this heavy gold lace skirt left the dress and flew into the audience. And when she took her arms from around my neck, her blue sleeve stayed there. Then her ribbon fell off and her cheeks fell in. And my rubber loop broke and I lost my pants. Well, she was kidding. We didn't look neat. She with her skirt off and her cheeks in, and me with the sleeves around my neck and my pants down. And not only closed us, they closed the theater. Anyway, I changed partners until I was 27 years old. And then I got my big break. And I married her. And even when I worked with Gracie, I was pathetic. I'd walk on the stage and say to Gracie, "How is your brother?" And she'd talk for 17 minutes, and I'd just stand there and smoke a cigar. I did absolutely nothing and used to put on makeup to do it. Then she would do an Irish jig, and I would point to her feet, and then she'd exit, and I'd follow, and that's how I became a star. And believe me, it wasn't easy. Sometimes I forgot to follow her. I remember we played Oklahoma City, and the next day the newspapers came out. One paper said, Gracie Allen is a great comedian with a wonderful delivery and perfect timing. There's no telling how far she could go if she worked alone. But that didn't faze me. It made me work harder. I finally developed so that I could hold my cigar in either hand. Well, now I've got to find an open song. My girl, there's going to be a festival this evening. There's going to be a festival this evening. A gathering of happy people there. There'll be noted individuals of prominent distinctiveness to permeate the social atmosphere. Everyone who's anyone will be there to honor my lovely fiancée. There'll be a grand ovation Special ostentation when the preacher gives the lovely rider. Oh, 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 my. Hold it. That would be a great opening song at the Pink Pussycat, but not here at the Shubert Theatre. Wait a minute, what's the matter with me? I can open with a song out of my album. And I made an album. It was called A Musical Trip with George Burns. I made it 5 years ago. Sold 1 copy. My sister Goldie bought it. Played it once and made me buy it back. Anyway, here it is, Grizzly Bear. Out in San Francisco where the weather's fair, they got a dance out there that's called the Grizzly Bear. All your other loving dances don't compare. They're kind of spoony and little less than croony. Talk about the bears that Teddy Roosevelt shot. They don't compare with what old San Francisco's got. Come on, honey-do, and I'll show to you the dance called the Grizzly Bear. Cuddle close to your baby. Snap your shoulders to the ceiling. Lordy, lordy, what a feeling. Hug up close to your lady. Close your eyes and do some napping. Something nice is going to happen. Hug up close to your baby. Swing her everywhere. Show your darling beau just how to go to Buffalo. Oh, do the grizzly. Oh, the grizzly. Yeah, you do it. Oh, you do it. Oh, you do it. Oh, ow. All right. Yeah, that's good. That song is too good. I don't want to finish that. Frank Sinatra's back in show business and old Blue Eyes might steal it. How about that Sinatra, thinking of retiring when he was 57 years old? When I was 57, I had pimples. I'll never retire. In what other business can a man my age, 78 years old, walk out on the stage, smoke a cigar, tell a few jokes, sing a few songs, and use the same color lipstick that Dolores Del Rio uses? Retire. When the time comes for me to go, I'm even going to take my music with me. Al Jolson had a theory about retirement, not his retirement. He wanted all the other actors to retire, so he'd be the only one left in show business. And he could handle it too. He was sort of a strange kind of a man. He never went around with any of the other big successful stars. He only palled around with actors who had no talent. I was one of his closest friends. And that singing style of his, he found that by accident. One night he was having dinner before the show at Lindy's restaurant. He had a double order of vegetables and sour cream, which consists of radishes, cucumbers, and onions. And that night at the theater, when he went into April showers, he got a stomachache. And he sang, "Though April showers, may come your way, how they bring the flowers." And the audience loved it, and that's how he found the style. And that was just from the radishes and cucumbers. Then when the onions hit him, he fell down on one knee, stayed there, finished the song, and turned out to be a sensation. Here I am rambling about Jolson. I still haven't found an opening song. Look, here are 2 cute little songs. They're not opening songs, but you've been such a charming audience, I thought I'd throw this in for free. They're about 80 years old. They were written by a piano player called the Candy Kid. He used to work for a house of ill repute in San Francisco on the Barbary Coast. And late at night, when the girls got to working, they'd come down in the parlor, and he would sing them these songs. The reason I know these songs is my sister Goldie taught them to me. Okay? I guess I'll take the train back home. There's no more sights here left for me to see. I've wined and dined and gazed on bill of fares till mother's homemade pies look good to me. San Francisco is a grand old place. When I get back, I'll never, never roam. Tell those cable cars to wait and open up that golden gate. I'm gonna take the train back home to San Francisco. I'm gonna take the train back home to Powell and Market, to see the ferry building, to wave to Oakland, to eat at Fisherman's Wharf, to visit Sausalito. It took me so long to finish the song. I just missed the train back home. Cute song. Then he sang a very sad song, and the girls would sit there and they'd cry their eyes out. And whenever I sing the song, sometimes I get so choked up that I can't even finish it. This is sad. Sweetheart number one is nearly 50, while number two is 22 today. Number three came like a springtime flower, and she'll be 2 years old the 1st of May. My heart in its triangular devotion beats for the ones in life so dear to me. A mother, a wife, and a baby to share my life. That's sweetheart number one, two. There we go, I can't finish it. Well, now that I stopped crying, I must tell you a little something. I'm a member of the Hillcrest Country Club. And some time ago, 4 of us were having lunch. There was Jack Benny and Georgie Jessel and Groucho Marx and myself. And I took a look at us. And believe me, we didn't look like the Brady Bunch. We looked more like Mission Impossible. And then Rudy Valley came over and joined us. That didn't help our rating any. And I said, fellas, I said, let's face it. I said, the kids nowadays have got it made. They have love-ins and love-outs and freak-ins and freak-outs, and they smell flowers, and they write poetry, and they wear love beads. Instead of us sitting around here, let's all go to Griffith Park and mingle with some of these kids. Maybe some of that youth will rub off on us. And maybe what we got might rub off on them. But it doesn't drop off before we get there. I finally convinced them, and the 5 of us left for Griffith Park. And not to look conspicuous, we all wore sandals and wide leather belts and Indian headbands and love beads. Jessel wore his beads hanging down the back. He didn't want to cover up his medals. And Jack Benny brought his violin, and Groucho brought his guitar, and Rudy Valley brought an orchestration of Vagabond Lover that was arranged for him by John Philip Sousa's father. And I wore my buckskin vest that Daniel Boone gave me for my bar mitzvah. And when we got to Griffith Park, the kids took a look at us. It was the first time any of us got such a big laugh without saying anything. We looked like a bunch of flower children that hadn't been watered in 50 years. Then we sat down on the grass. That took about 20 minutes. Jessel never did make it. Those medals are so heavy, he was afraid if he got down, he won't be able to get up. So we propped him up against a tree. And you know, because of Jessel's medals, all his wives left him. How would you like to be married to a guy that would go to bed every night wearing all those medals? They couldn't get any sleep. All night long he tinkled. Well, anyway, we were sitting on the grass, and I read in the papers that the kids were smoking grass, so I thought I'd try it. So I took a handful of grass, put it in my holder, and I lit it, and it's nothing. But the fertilizer was murder. Then the police came, and they says, "What's going on here? What have you guys been drinking?" I said, "Geritol on the rocks." He says, "Well, you better break this up. The park closes at 8 o'clock. I says, "But officer, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We still got 4 hours." He says, "By the looks of this group, it'll take you that long to get out of here." Well, we broke it up, but the policeman was wrong. It took us longer. We had to come back. We forgot Jessel. Wait, I think I've got a good opening song. Johnny Warner. I think this will do it. Oh, little Johnny Warner was sitting in the corner of a swell cafe eating his heart away because he had no girl. Yeah, that sounds like a good opening song. I think I like it. At another table sat a girl named Mabel with a fellow who Johnny knew, and his head began to whirl. So far, it's good. Little Johnny sighed. Here's what Johnny cried, he hollered. "Where did you get that girl? Oh, you lucky devil. Where did you get that girl? Tell me on the level. Have you ever kissed her? Has she got a sister? Lead me, lead me. Lead me to her, Mr. G. I wish that I had a girl, I love her. Goodness, how I would love her. And if you got another, I'd take her home to mother. Oh, where did you get that girl? Oh.